Let's finish the vertebrae's twist rig. We'll work our way from the pelvis forward. And here's what I like to do. Given that we have two helpers between our mid helper, which we have already set up with an expression, and our pelvis helper, I like to take the helper that follows the pelvis and average its twist between the mid helper and the pelvis. And then when we get to the next one, we can average between this helper, which is helper B, and the mid twist. So when we get to the thorax, it's going to be the same way. We'd first set up the helper just before we get to the main thorax twist helper, and then we would set up the helper that follows. All right, so let's go ahead and get right to work. We'll grab our group, which is group B, and head over to our motion panel, and let's go ahead and add a float expression to the y-axis. Okay, so now we'll need to create variables, and here our variables will be the pelvis and also our mid twist. So we can start with the pelvis. I'll choose create, and we will assign the controller. So here's the thorax. I'll go ahead and collapse that. Here's the pelvis, and we'll grab its z-axis. Okay, once that's been wired in, we can now go ahead and create another variable. Oh, do want to head over to the name field and actually rename this before we choose create. And let's go ahead and call this midvert. Just something that is very clear and that won't take too long to type. There we go. Let's go ahead and assign the controller. We know that the midvert exists under one of our PT helpers. So there is helper D. Let's go ahead and expand it. We'll need to expand the outside to grab the group. And now we can go ahead and expand the inside of the group, get to transform, rotation, and here's the y-axis. You can see it has already been connected. So it's very clear as to what axis we need to choose. Now we can go ahead and choose OK. All right, so now we'll just need to set up our expression. So again, we'll put open and close parentheses. Within the parentheses, we'll type in pelvis plus midvert divided by 2. All right, so we'll debug. Great, evaluate, and we're good to go. If we were to close this out, notice as we take the pelvis and start to twist that, we're going to get more twisting from helper B. That's what we want. So we're going to get some really nice twist distribution once we're finished with this. So let's go ahead and continue moving forward. I'll make sure that the pelvis control is brought back to 0. And now that we finished B, we can now work on C. So let's grab the group object. And again, we'll assign a float expression to its y-axis. All right, so here we know that the variables will be for our mid vertebrae and also for vertebrae B. So we can always start with the mid vertebrae. So that's midvert, choose create, and we will assign it to the midvert's y-axis. So that's vertebrae D. Let's go ahead and create a new variable, and we'll call this vert underscore B. Choose create. And now we'll need to find that controller. So I'll go ahead and scroll up. Here's vertebrae B. We'll go ahead and expand the outside to grab the group, expand the inside. And now we can go ahead and find its y-axis. Okay, so our variables are created. We can now go ahead and create the expression. So that's going to be midvert plus vert B divided by 2. Let's go ahead and evaluate this and see what we get. So now as we rotate and twist our pelvis, notice the beautiful twist distribution we get. Very exciting stuff. This will all lead to great deformations when we start to skin. All right, so we just have a few more to finish up. We can now move to helper F. Let's go ahead and take care of that. We'll grab its group object. And let's go ahead and add the float expression again to the y-axis. All right, so we know here we'll need a variable for our thorax. Let's go ahead and find it. Scroll down. There's the pelvis. I'll go ahead and collapse that. Expand the thorax and grab the z-axis. Okay, let's go ahead and create another variable, and this time for our midvertebrae. So that's going to be midvert. We will choose create and go ahead and find its controller. Here it is, the y-axis. All right, so now it's just a matter of creating our expression. So we know how to do this by now. That's going to be thorax plus midvert divided by 2. Let's go ahead and debug and evaluate and test it out. We always want to test our controls out. You can see that we get some very nice twisting as we rotate the thorax control. So that's good. So let's go ahead and take care of the last one. So this should be a cinch. With the group selected, we'll go ahead and find its y-axis. Now we know here we'll need to create a variable for the midvertebrae. So that's going to be midvert. Choose create and assign it. And we also need a variable for vertebrae F. So again, I'll choose create. After we have renamed it, it's going to be vert F. Now we can create it and assign the controller. So I'll go ahead and find the helper. All right, there it is. I'll go ahead and expand the outside. There's the group. Expand the inside of that. And let's go ahead and grab its y-axis. Okay. So now we can go ahead and finish up. We'll add our parentheses. That's going to be midvert plus vert F divided by 2, and we'll evaluate. All right, let's go ahead and test this out. So as we start to rotate our animation controls, you can see we get some very nice twisting, and it's very stable because we've taken care of the axis order on our animation controls. Very exciting. Now, chances are we won't have to go to any major extreme with our horse, but you never know. You might want to get very creative and have fun with the rig and have something really amazing happen. And to prepare for that, we've set up a very stable vertebrae rig that can withstand those extreme tests. So that's fun. All right, we just have one more thing to do to finish the vertebrae, and that is to make sure that the entire rig is scalable. So let's go ahead and take care of that in the following lesson.